Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Fans of Power podcast. If you can picture like the big new burst that came on the He-Man card art or card packaging, imagine that when we're saying that. It is unfortunate we don't have that kind of gravity flash at the screen. That would be kind of kick-ass.
That would be.
Yes, it would be. So that's what I always envision when I say a brand new episode. It's like that big burst of what the word new popping up. But I'm Tyler TRX Baker, and the man, I hate when I try to come up with something clever.
I'm Joe, nobody Amato. I don't have a nickname.
No,
Nicknames don't work for me. I've
I,
almost.
the guy posts, hey everybody, what kind of brand of like Kroger water do you prefer? And he gets like thousands of comments. Yeah, Joe, nobody here. It's like this guy could post about store brand bottled water here, and the guy's gonna get thousands of comments here.
Oh, shoot. No, it's
Hey,
weird. It's bizarre. I don't know. But I think
but
nicknames don't work. You're
Joe
right.
Mott here. We're here to keep this property alive here every single week. Like always trying to remind everybody, since there is nothing going on with He-Man, pretty much for the most part, our job is to keep this alive and well in people's minds and their hearts. Aside from people who are still collecting, but just keeping that major interest and not just buying toys. We want you to always do that, but we always want to entice people to seek out so much more mythology and media of He-Man. So
you're right.
we may there may be somebody brand new watching this very episode right now. So just to give a mission statement, that is our goal, is to keep people's interest alive, like not just for the hour and 15 minutes you spend with us, but when you wake up tomorrow, you thinking about buying a Men on Card squeeze figure like Jeremiah. He knows who I'm talking to. Or
Would he get a
you're
vintage
looking for
one? Did he get a
a
vintage?
vintage squeeze. I'm talking about a vintage squeeze or a vintage Cobra Khan with a decent card. He knows what I'm talking about when I say that too.
All
So
right.
just not just with toys, but with the cartoons, getting the entire collection of all the canons and the book, and we're going to get into a little bit of that today as well. But man,
Oh,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm too damn much. So
No, you're right. There's plenty. I mean, there's plenty of stuff. But no, speaking of toys and stuff, the one thing I did want to mention is they're popping up everywhere. I've been seeing everybody posting pictures of those Mega Constructs, He-Man, and Skeletors, those itty bitty little mini figures. Like, I don't know if you get them in the Lego section, but for a super small figure, I think they look like they have, some pretty good posability. I myself haven't found them, but I mean, they're super reasonable. I think they're $4.90 or something at the stores. So, heck, for two little small posable figures, I just been seeing everybody popping up pictures, all over Facebook of those things. I don't know
yes,
if you've seen.
this too. But judging by the picture, I didn't know they were that small.
Yeah, they're real small. God, I'm trying to think of who it was. Somebody posted a picture of them next to. Oh, I think it was Tom Ace. Tom Ace showed up a picture, and I think they were by the little mini figures that Maddie released. Those kind of small He-Man, Skeletor
Yeah.
figures, Scareglow, and they were smaller than that. I think that's how the perspective was. So they're small, but they're posable. They're cool, and heck, like I said, more masters at the stores, the better. I mean, just keep sparking it to pop it and back into the public eye. That's always a positive thing for me.
As long as it's not just kind of lazy product placement. I kind of feel like doing stuff that, I mean, I'm past that point, where I'm like, I'm not going to buy anything just because you slap the He-Man logo on it, because if it just comes off as just junk, something
Well, these look good. They look like good quality. I mean, they do
I feel like
multiple.
just wasting, using this property. So, but those look pretty cool. When I looked at them a little bit more closely, I think it was yesterday or today, someone had posted them on
Mhm.
one of the feeds. And I'm like, you know what? That actually looks pretty cool, and they are quite posables. And I didn't.
Right.
I really don't keep up with a lot of this extra stuff. I mean that comes out because I just don't normally seek it out as much. But I didn't know that they would be available in retail stores like that. So now that I know that, I'll check out the Lego sections in some of the local department stores in the
Yeah, me
area.
too. Because I mean, I had no clue. I mean, it was just San Diego Comic Con that just came just recently, and they showed them there. So I figured, oh, these things are going to be a ways away because they do so many different properties for these little things. And bam, they're popping up now. I was like, well, I didn't.
I would hope, if they're going to do this, that we have to have like a variety of Lego or Lego like kits, like a battle ram. What are they? Mega blocks? Is that what they're called?
I think they're called Mega Constructs. Like I said,
Mega,
I don't have any of
Mega
these, but
construct like Wind Raider or Battle Ram or Roton.
that
You
would
know,
be nice.
and of course the be all would be like play sets and stuff like that, like a Fright Zone and You know, the only way you could get Grizzlor and Modulok is if you buy the Mega Constructs Fright Zone playset. It comes exclusively with Modulok and Grizzlor. You know,
And I'm sure they'll do something like that. It seems like those like little minifigures on those small type things. You always see exclusive figures for certain things. So hey, I
yeah,
mean, like I said, with the popularity, if they sell well, I'm sure more could
that
come in the
I
future.
probably would consider, you know, purchasing a kit and putting it together because I most of the stuff I'm just like, eh. But that has my interest, like a Lego type He-Man, because the all the stuff they've done with Turtles and Ghostbusters looks cool, but it costs so much money to get those Lego sets. I mean, it just at least for me, I feel like, man, I you know, 50, 80, $100 for some of those really awesome Lego sets. And I'd love to have a Ghostbusters and Turtles one, but you know, I
Yeah,
just
prices, everything can become pricey.
yeah,
You're right, but hey, like I said, it's only hoping that more things will come. So
yeah.
that's that in the toy aisle. I wanted to say in the live chat room, I want to say hi to MOTU Maniac 316. He said I'd pay $1. He says that's it, and I think he
He'd
was
buy
making.
that for $1. I wonder if that's what he means. He'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, I think I was like, okay, was he doing a little bit of a RoboCop reference and then adding a
Hey,
twist?
Joe, pick
Yeah,
up on the quote.
yes. Hey, I know I'm not as dumb as I look, even though you can't see how dumb I am or look. But well, whatever. So cha cha. Yeah, like I said, that's why I hide the mask. But well, besides that, I also wanted to give a big happy birthday shout out. I think where he's at in the world, it might be his birthday right now, and that's a big Masters of the Universe fan, James Etok. It's his birthday on the 21st, so
yeah, I guess in their time zone it might be.
might be midnight, maybe. I don't know if there's a 3 hour difference. We're doing this 9. I don't know if it'd be 12 o'clock where he lives, but if it is, hey, if not, we did it early. So a big happy birthday to him.
Yes, definitely want to wish him a very, very happy birthday, and I feel like this is better to do it on this platform than just. But I want to thank James for that incredible episode review website he did so many years ago with Zadok Angel. I learned I picked up on so many things and saw things for the first time due to that website, and I want to thank James for putting in all those efforts years ago. And I hope your birthday is as wonderful as that website you put together back then, man. That was the website where I saw the Secret of the Sword trailer for the very first time.
Oh, no
Uh,
kidding.
yeah, his episode reviews for like Dragon's Gift, there were certain things that he pointed out that I had never noticed before, and since then, always watch the Dragon's Gift with some of those moments and things that he pointed out in that episode. So I never. I think maybe I told it to him in a message, but you kind of feel like it's not conveyed as good as it would be through actually speaking. So if James gets a hold of this, I thank you for that, and I hope you know what I'm talking about when I say that. But happy birthday to you, Buster Rhymes.
There you go. No doubt. I mean, the things that he's brought, like I said, and putting together those amazing, serial geek magazines that he did with a lot of cool information. Which I'm going to kind of transition to something like that right here on a Facebook group called the Ancient Library of Grayskull. James's partner in crime, who's doing the Return of Faker cartoon. Now I'm gonna say your name, buddy. I'm gonna say it twice. I'm probably gonna butcher it, and this is why I'm saying it, because I want you to correct me, and I want you to tell me how bad I said your name. But after saying that, I'm gonna mention a post he did, and that's Dusan Mitrovic.
Dusan.
And he's saying Dusan, I'll say Dusan or
I'm
Dusan
saying
or
Dusan because I've watched James's videos multiple times where he references thanks to Dusan's remastering skills. So I
okay.
like I'm saying his name correctly. I've watched those videos numerous times, so
All right.
reflecting.
I've never caught those. I missed him. I'll be honest, so I didn't catch it. But if that's his name, cool. I still want him to say how badly I said it, but hey, hopefully his last name is Mitrovic. I'm hoping that's your last name. So, Mr. D, Mr. DM right there. That's my quick way of getting around it. I'll do his initials. He made a post in there, and it was showing about Brave Star. And this is something that was it was in issue 8 that I think they showed this, and there's more information of Serial Geek, which I think if you go to serialgeek.com and that /issue 8, you can find this issue and some of the past issues to order of Serial Geek. But in the early production stages of Brave Star, there was an idea to have it as a spin-off of Masters of the Universe. And they showed this like sheet that actually, that they did back then. And this is how it's typed up. It has He-Man and then that kind of / thing, Brave Star relationship, and it's underlined. And it says, Brave Star offers a unique opportunity to use He-Man in situations and environments completely different from any that have been done before. He-Man could actually be presented in the origin story as the motivating force that caused the young Brave Star to become a lawman. The character of He-Man would appear in the beginning of this origin story, saving Brave Star's life and giving him inspiration. He-Man would be presented as the mysterious stranger who gives Brave Star his start, whereupon He-Man would disappear, existing only as a fantastic memory for Brave Star until the end of the story, where He-Man and Brave Star will re-meet. This time it is Brave Star who saves He-Man, the boy who has grown into, the boy who has grown into the man. As a result, the two will respect each other as equals from separate universes. And a method for crossovers, such as the usual dimensional door, can be established. Thus, Brave Star presents itself as a new field of endeavor for all of us, a show which will stand alone on its own merits and, additionally, give opportunities for introducing new characters in the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe line. I never knew this. Now, I didn't have that issue of Serial Geek, and I'll be honest, I never checked everything online. I don't know how old or how long it's been around. Like I told you, I was kind of new to the internet, so I didn't know when this information was presented. But when did you first learn about that? Because that would have been cool to see that in Brave Star.
I heard about that a while back, and it's also referenced in the Christmas special that Man at Arms says they need a Carium water crystal. And of course, everyone who loves Brave Star, which I'm one of those people, Carium is the equivalent of gold in the Brave Star mythology. So you kind of feel like that's something that they may have been, kind of laying down a small seed of groundwork of bridging the two series. And boy, that's a story that needs to be told. Is these two series crossing over? I mean, I just feel like there's so much that could be done with that. With the two worlds crossing over. Brave Star visiting Eternia, and He-Man going to New Texas, and beating the hell out of Sandstorm and Tex-Hex and Thunderstick, and and Brave Star, teaming up with Rio Blast to shoot up a saloon
That's
held
something.
and clawful, or something like that.
And that would have been perfect since we never got Rio Blast in the cartoon. So if he would have popped up, that would have been perfect. And what was Brave?
To see 30-30 and Battle Cat teaming up.
Yeah, that'd be different.
God, man. Oh, that'd be so cool. I love 30-30 too, man. They're pretty much the entire cast of Brave Star. I mean, I just think all the heroes and villains are great. It's just boy, I love Brave Star.
And that was 87, 88 when that was out? Was that about 1987, 88 when that cartoon came out?
87, 88, yeah.
Yeah, see, and it would have been great because obviously, like I said, we had no more He-Man at that time, so it would have been great. We'd have still had some kind of extension of that to somewhat keep it alive, and it would have been great. I mean, great, like you said, to see them crossing over and meeting and seeing He-Man needing Brave Star's help in, different situations, when he would pop up with something like what they were intending. I just think that'd be great. I even love how Brave Star started because with, how the Filmation, they would have the horses,
and
a whip.
And whip noise, yeah, so cool.
I like it even just like when He-Man, or when they would transition from this part to this part where it says He-Man, they'd say Brave Star, like Brave Star. It did the same thing with that kind of gimmick. Oh man,
transition, that would go from scene to scene, and all the voice talent. Alan Oppenheimer was used on there as Stampede, and
even sound effects. Didn't they even have like the sound effects from like things we were used to from Masters of the Universe? You could feel the connection of that.
Yeah, I think like when 30-30 would transform into his two-legged form, I think it would use a bit of an explosion sound effect that you'd hear in a lot of He-Man episodes. Man, I would love it if we did. This is just how
that would be a comic I'd want.
I'd throw about doing a commentary for a Brave Star episode or two and just tie it in with He-Man, just for the hell of it.
It'd be fun, but speaking of how they did that, as some people thought of atrocious He-Man Thundercats crossover comic, I think it'd be even cooler. Like hell, since we never got them in the cartoon together, that would be a pretty cool crossover of a comic if done correctly.
Some schmuck put in charge by Mattel to here, do this. It's fun to think about, but unless these people are going to take it seriously, He-Man Thundercats can still be done, as we've said time and time again. Still has not been done because that was, I don't know what you call it, but it was a, lack of a better phrase, a SHIT stain. I'm not going to say the full word. I'll just, if you know what I'm talking about, then I don't need to say it. But that's right. What that was. And it still can be told properly. Brave Star and He-Man's another story that needs to be told because it's like peanut butter and jelly. He-Man and Brave Star's universes go together just perfectly well. Not just because of the Filmation connection, but you've got sword and sorcery meets technology, and you've got the Wild West meets technology. It just seems like the technology crossing over into these times of you know or ancient times where technology clearly would never exist, like in our world history. It's like Thundercats, and as much as you people say, no, I don't want my Thundercats with my He-Man here. It just feels like there's a lot of similarities but differences, but enough to where you feel like you can really put together a good story crossing these
Well,
over.
this, I mean, no doubt, like I said, the reason this should work is obviously just seeing what was in early notes and that I just read, and I'm sure James even has more information. I mean, hell, if there's anybody would that be the person to go to, it'd be James Etok, and maybe have him in a collaboration with somebody try to write out a cool story. Give us in comic book form what we never got in cartoon form. We could finally, after all these years, have what they maybe were thinking about intending to do. It would be great to see that. That, like you said, to see 3030 and Battle Cat side by side, Brave Star and He-Man. It would just be fantastic to have these two worlds collide finally, in some media format.
And I just feel like there's so much similar, like with Stampede and Horde Prime. These two massive supernatural beings that both Tex Hex and Horde answer to. Now, typically, you expect Tex Hex and Skeletor to cross over, which, yeah. But I just felt like Stampede was such a similar vibe to Horde Prime. This massive, decrepit creature, that gave Tex Hex his power and is like the ultimate threat to New Texas, but puts Tex Hex in charge as like his sole minion along with his goons of Sandstorm. Sandstorm was always my favorite of the goons.
Yeah, well, hey,
But
and if there's people that want to watch something, I know that usually, if you don't have the DVD, and I know when you go to YouTube, what's that?
Are you talking about Brave Star?
Yeah, I was gonna say they could go to YouTube to catch,
Yeah.
episodes, and they can at least get, familiar with maybe what they don't remember or if they've never seen it before. But yeah, definitely a great cross.
And actually, and I've watched. I mean, I've got the entire series here. The majority of the episodes are pretty damn good. Like the writing is good, the dialogue is good, the stories are good, the voice acting is good. I mean, it's a great package, everything, And I mean, there's some really really good. And definitely started by watching the Brave Star movie.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
is
no,
a
definitely.
film.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, no doubt that is something they should do. And I was going to say, just want to acknowledge in the chat room, we have Daniel Maynard. He said it would be an interesting crossover. That was his comment. Of course, Captain Chronic, after you spelled Shit, he spelled it right back. And he said, didn't like the Thundercats He-Man mix, at least the comic anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, hey, but like I said, this is a good chat room because Motu Maniac said, yeah, that Thundercats crossover comic was a bag of hot garbage. So there's not many fans of that.
It makes me feel all warm and excited when I hear other people come out and say it sucked.
Well, hey, but Daniel did say, he said, I'm in the minority. He said, I like the crossover. Hey, you can like it. If you liked it, great. That is great.
I'm not going to knock people for it. I'm just
No,
saying
no.
I personally thought it sucked, just like with anything else. If you liked it, as I've said before, other podcasts, more power to you.
Oh, yeah, always say that.
But
yeah.
I felt like everybody who likes He-Man Thundercats deserves something better than what we got.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. I mean, like I said, anybody that liked it, I mean, hell, that's great. We're glad you liked it. We're not saying hate it. Like, hey, if you don't hate it like we do, you can't, listen to our shit. No.
Like that on the internet, or a bunch of douchebags. You need to be, put a sock in the mouth, duct tape over the mouth, and thrown in a trunk.
Yeah, I respect all opinions. Like I said, we can't all. It would be boring. Like I said, it's a boring world if everybody agreed. There'd be no debates, no great conversations. It would just be the quickest post. I really liked that He-Man crossover with Thundercats. And somebody says, I liked it too. There, that's the end of that. So it's good when you have somebody say, I don't like it, then you say why. And then they can say, why did you like it? And as long as you just respect each other without cursing each other out.
Like when I made a post about the He-Man movie, like with an old, newspaper clipping, I had two people go out of their way. I'd say of all the recognition that post got, two people made a point to say, yeah, I really just didn't like it, which one of them with Keith was Keith Hosgood. I'm not giving you crap about that, Keith, but I was just like, and but then there was some other guy who just came out of the blue and just said, it completely was just like trying to be like Star Wars. And I just like, I bet it sucked because Battle Cat and the Orca wasn't in it too, right?
That's
it's just like, oh, God, it's for every few people that seem to finally come out and say, you know what, it wasn't as bad as I thought or bad as I remember. 2 more, 3 more, 5 more pop up and say, ripping off of Star Wars, man.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, you'll have others. You always have somebody else say something, but well,
Yeah.
like I said, that's kind of the end of that. Just wanted to give a shout out, like I said, about that early idea of Brave Star. It sounds great. It would be cool if it can come to fruition in some kind of format. You never know; things can happen. So, but
And
that
before we go on, I'm going to give a shout out to Daniel Karunen, our buddy from Sweden, I believe it was, who
okay.
sent me a message privately and made a point to say he enjoyed my Commando poster. So I've got Predator directly behind me here. Is a wink to him, and plus to honor Sonny Landham, who played Billy in the film, who just passed away this
Oh
past.
yeah, that's a shame. That
So
is a shame.
that's what this is here. So for all movie fans and Predator fans, that's why that poster is. Normally it gets top billing up here. It's in my prime spot in my massive man cave that I have here, but I have it down here so fans can see it. That's what it's there for. So for you, Daniel, and for Billy, we thank you. So that's my
Yeah,
shout out this week.
no doubt. I'm sure next week we'll have the Terminator poster on the other side
Actually, I have
rotated.
another idea. Actually, Terminator's right here. I
That's
got
what I
two.
said. You'll have that rotated over this side and something else switched over. I'm
I'm
sure we'll have it.
I actually was going to put one of my mini Van Damme posters, so I'll probably do that next week. I got Van Damme posters. I got Stallone. I got a wide. I mean, this posters. I got Friday the 13th Part 8 signed by Kane Hodder right over here on the other
You
side.
some. Wait. Now, why would you put
I
that
got
on? Why would you never told
free
me?
too. I might save that for the Halloween season, like when we do House Chakotay.
Why would you never tell me about that?
I did
That's
tell you about that before the podcast ever got going.
I don't ever remember that. That's a bunch
Of
of
course
crap,
you
and you
don't. You
didn't
don't
have it
remember
up.
anything we ever talk about. But
Huh?
you
Did you say
assume
something?
that you tell me about stuff.
Well, I have a bad memory. It comes with old age.
But
I don't know what I'm
I got
talking
the
about.
autograph for free. He came over to Virginia Tech and just did a lecture about film, and maybe 8
Sure.
people stayed behind to get his autograph, and he took pictures, and I got to talk to him about how Freddy versus Jason sucked. And
I know
I
he
just say
was.
that
He
because
was.
you like the film, so
Yeah, I know. I do. I love Freddy versus Jason, but yeah, I do remember how much Kane hates that. I've seen that. He's publicly definitely talked about that. It is a shame we didn't get him as Jason, but
yeah. But
okay.
yeah,
Well,
you'll see that maybe soon enough, or who knows what. But I like to tinker around and show off various movie parts. I got Conan the Barbarian right here. I got Aliens and Predator 2 over there. I got Ghostbusters over there. So
the '80s is alive and well in Tyler's room. There ain't no doubt.
it is, and
So,
this is just one. This is just one wall. I mean, I've got so
oh,
many
I'm
other.
sure. Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna say something in the chat room again. I think it was Daniel Maynard. What he did mention was he said he liked the art in the Thundercats He-Man crossover comic, which that's the only thing usually I said too. And speaking of that, I'm going to transition to something. Let's talk about artists. Let's talk about some of the artists in the '80s that we know, but I guess never got their recognition for whatever. Maybe they didn't sign their posters, their paintings, whatever they did, so they became unknown. But by some research, you could usually find out. But there's a lot of artists that get uncredited, and they're known as uncredited artists, unknown artists. And I've talked about one of them. I always bring his name up. I like to. Maybe it's because he's Italian, and I figure, hey, I got to bring this guy up first.
He like
And,
yeah. When
and
Joe says his name, you'll get why he likes to say it because I guess it sounds fun to say this guy's name because I told him this the other day. He's like, you like saying his name, don't you?
that's Gino Chile. And this is like just this is one of his pieces. Now I know I'll tell you what, one of my favorites of his is The Trap. I'll get to talking about that in a second with the cover. But this one, I don't know. I like, and I'm sorry we're getting the reflection of my thing, but I like seeing Merman on there. I like seeing Beastman on there. I like seeing this goofy little creature cowering in the corner. This little weird little monster demon. But
He probably got his cheekbone busted by Man at Arms.
yeah, that's what I said. These were just, like I said, they're always so intense looking. And I know definitely The Trap was not one of the better written stories. That was.
Bottom of the barrel, but the
Yeah,
cover.
but that cover with him shoving that door into Skeletor. I mean, isn't that the one that has him shoving the door into Skeletor? It just He-Man looks so intense and fierce, and it's a shame a guy like this didn't get more credit. But can you think of, one of your favorite pieces of his or something that you can remember?
That was the first Golden Book I ever got. Was the Sword of Skeletor. I think at my local Food Line, or maybe it was at Kmart. But that was the first. I still have it to this day, and I mean that cover, it
It's
you
just
know when
memorable.
people say this stuff leaves an impression on you, and it's almost kind of hard to describe. When you say it leaves an impression on you, but to me that's another. Just like last week when we talked about slave state, we talk about tone. Someone who today who thinks He-Man is a joke because of really, uh, I mean, gosh, I do my best not to cuss, but these really offensive uh, videos that just make fun of He-Man, but it just making him look like a joke in various manners, and
Yeah.
probably current uh, people or more youngsters, so to speak, who did not grow up in the '80s, who maybe barely know who He-Man is. They see him as like this joke on YouTube and stuff like that. You plop that book or one of these various books or pictures that we talk about is like, no, this is He-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I don't like. You're right. He's turned into a
he said
joke.
about any of the Golden Book covers, but that one in particular, of all the covers, and I mean, there's a bunch of them I absolutely love, because Earl Norm did the vast majority of them.
Correct.
So, but that one in the Trap.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get a good picture because this is the back, but on the back you can kind of see. Ah, damn! Here, hold on a second. I'll fix that reflection. I guess I won't fix the reflection. Well, anyways,
You're not going to fix that. You're not going to fix anything.
well, see, you could see. I think He-Man and the intensity of his face as he's shoving that door right through Skeletor. So,
well, just do a quick Google search for He-Man Golden Book, The Trap, and the cover should pop right up. The interior are some of the ugliest I've ever seen, but that cover alone, it's worth getting off eBay and putting it in a frame. It has that, like so many artists who drew He-Man definitely seem like to be inspired by Frank Frazetta and Conan in general, because they all had such a Conan feel to them.
yeah, these are great. Like I said, this is, we've been seeing so many collection books. I mean, if there's of art and pieces and covers, and you know how you've seen there's been portfolios of the great work of Rudy Obrero and Earl Norem. Like I said, Gino, his stuff and many other artists, there's still so many pieces, and I don't know if there's any clean pieces of this, meaning ones that don't have the masters and the all the other text on it. If there's cleaner ones, that would be great too, to get nice crisp ones of this. These are things that I'd like to see in a collection book, in a calendar. I mean, there's plenty. Along with, now these next two I'm going to show. I'm only going to show two of them, and I'm not showing.
Before you move on to that, I just thought of a memory from you popping that up. I remember when I was in high school, and I was so determined to try and put out like an ad that I wanted to buy your He-Man stuff. My dad took that cover over to, I think, Office Max and had it printed out, like multiple copies, for me to go put up at various places around town. Just like say, hey, look, do you have any He-Man toys you don't want? Call this number, I will buy them.
You did that? You did that? That's pretty cool.
Well,
That's
I ended up not using those, but I did place an ad in the Trading Post, which is a paper that our area that covers a large part, and you call them and you put in an ad of what you want. And I did it, and maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, this old lady called and said her grandson had a bunch of He-Man stuff, and I got on the phone with him, and I met up with him on a Saturday morning, and he was my age. We were both still in high school, and I bought.
And you beat his ass and took all his stuff. You just jumped him, right? I said you probably just jumped and beat his ass.
I'm too tender-hearted to do such a thing. But I did buy all this stuff. Of course, at the time I only had like $20. Of course, I'm in high school. $20 to me was like the equivalent of $50. And there was so much stuff. And I went back and asked my dad for $20 more, and he gave it to me right there on the spot. And I got a He-Man tent, a complete Fright Zone, my very first version of Sorot. I got a Roadblock, the second version of Roadblock from G.I. Joe, and a few other things for like $40 from that guy from putting in an ad in the Trading Post.
That's pretty cool. That is cool.
I feel kind of like embarrassed that if I put out this picture of the Golden Book, that it would just get ignored, because like I said, in my area, I could not have felt more alone with my passion for collecting He-Man and G.I. Joe, Thundercats, and Turtles in the 90s, because I just didn't know anybody that did it. So to put out something publicly at the local grocery store, or all of them, say, hey, this guy wants to buy your He-Man toys, I figured, what a loser this guy is. I'm going to call him and prank call him or something. I was so nervous about making it known that I did that. So I think that was the biggest reason. I just felt like nobody would respond. I think that was,
definitely nobody.
Oh, and it's like, you don't have to look far. to find He-Man.
Right. No doubt, I'm sure though around my area, if I post that, I'd get absolutely nothing. But that's cool. You got your stuff, and you got some kind of like you said, a response, and it led to good things. But okay. There's another artist, and this artist, he's done a lot of the coloring book covers. He's done the puzzle art, the drawing for the puzzles that not only were for the puzzles, but also, just the box on it, so you can see it clean without the lines. But I'm gonna show two particular ones, and I'm not gonna show the puzzle. I'm gonna show the back, and I'm gonna try to hold them together because I hate to hold these up and all the puzzles fall. So I have them face to face. The backs will be on them. I remember showing these in James E. Talk. Said, "What are those, and where did they come from?" This was like a few years back. The reason he said that is not many people really, I guess, looked on the back of these puzzles, well, it's these giant ones, and on the back they have really cool art. On the front of these puzzles, it's completely different pieces. These are different. These are exclusive for the back of it, so you see it's nice and smooth. And it was just this great depiction that R.L. Allen did of He-Man and Tila. I mean, it's just like I said, this art is just it's beautiful. I love this painted style art. And on the other one, some people want to say it's like a He-Man's version of Captain Morgan, but you just have He-Man standing there, a hand on his hip. But I remember when James seen it, he's like, "What in God's name is that?" And I explained to him, and I tried to take the best pictures that I could because these are so big, I can't fit them, obviously in the scanner. I was gonna try to quickly open without it. Never mind, I ain't gonna do that. Wait, let me. Uh, okay, if I'm careful, I'm gonna do this at an angle. This piece has been done a lot where Beastman and Skeletor are always staring at Tila with Charger. But in this piece, you have He-Man also staring at Tila. He's doing his perverted stalking. But a very nice, beautiful piece. This is a puzzle, the puzzle front. So I did that at an angle so it wouldn't fall. And just another one is just, oh, that almost slid right out there. It's He-Man on the front of the part of Battle Ram, Castle Grayskull. But these are pieces. Like you said, if you want more art in books, God, I want these clean. I want them in a book. I want them on shirts. I want them anywhere you can put them. Just clean pieces like this of, again, artists that gave us amazing stuff, but unfortunately don't get credit because sometimes it's hard to get their names.
I remember when I was introduced to the surprise attack and the sword in the mountain. I think is what it's called, or stone or sword in the stone kind of. It's kind of like a sword in the stone kind of thing, but I think it's stone or sword in the mountain. But my best friend at childhood had told me he picked up these two puzzles. I think he had. I forgot where he got them, or maybe he had them, and he showed them to me, and it was the surprise. And I'd never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blew my mind to see this beautiful painted artwork of He-Man pulling the power sword out of this massive rock with Merman trying to get at Trapjaw shooting at Stratos, and Stratos is firing a beam from his hand at Skeletor to knock his sword out, and then the surprise attack one, which is probably arguably the best one of that bunch, just because it just looks so cool of them trying to sneak out of Castle Grayskull or Snake Mountain, and they run into Skeletor, Evelyn, and Beastman. It's
on the steps. Is that where they're on like that kind of spiral stairway or something?
Spiral staircase, and the Evil Wars come down and they catch He-Man, Manny-Face, and Tila trying to get. It just looks so beautiful and stunning. Oh boy, that was. I mean, you got that really massive poster that's got the entire roster of the 82 and 83.
That I have framed. That's one of my favorites. Yes.
And that was an awesome one. And then the other one too of He-Man and Skeletor on Panther Battlecat fighting. Triclops is firing the laser cannon. You got Ram-Man trying to headbutt into the castle. You got Screech and Zoar flying around.
He did plenty. He did plenty. And then when you
such beautiful posters. I mean, puzzles. I mean, they just stuff like that. That's what the phrase "tells a story" means. When you look at that kind of artwork and you're like, "Dear God, man!" I mean, it's just. These were puzzles for kids, and they're these beautiful paintings.
And what's cool about them is these, even though they have lines, like in some of these puzzles, those can easily be taken out in case there's not a fresh piece. But with some of those other puzzles that came in boxes that you're talking about, remember, they had the beautiful piece of art right there on the box. So that can easily be you can easily get a nice, perfect print of that. And you, like I said, combine that with all the coloring book covers that he did as well. it's just you're loaded with a lot from R.L. Allen. That's what I mean. There you can get tons of things to make, whether it's another book if Dark Horse ever decided, or if they wanted to just try something different, where they just wanted to sell something in a different format. Maybe Super 7 could come up with something. But that's what I mean. There's still more art that's out there that people want, they need to see. This next one, I want to show you. This one is the one that freaked me out. Now, of course, this coloring, I wouldn't say he did the coloring. He did all the line work, and I think that it was just somebody random just filled in the coloring. I always speak of Floro Deary. And everybody, as you know, Transformer fans know Floro Deary for the work he's done, where he's drawn stuff, Transformers. But when I brought up that Floro Deary did Masters of the Universe, people were like, wait, what? I never knew that. I never heard of that. And I said, it all comes from this. This is one of the box sets of the paint with, the fine tip marker, that you can just color them in like that. But this isn't one of the sticker books that you color. This isn't a color with water, paint with water. This is a box set, so you can see the thickness at the side. And as a kid, when I'd get all these things, I mean, I just, as you know, I pack read it. Like some people in the chat room were saying, they're like, hey, I've seen your video, and hey, I really appreciate that you checked out my video online of my collection. But as a kid, I just pack ratted the stuff, and I never wanted to color them. I didn't want to ruin nothing. I mean, hell, I still have the original markers that came with this set. Never used the mark. Yeah, I'm going to take them out just to quickly show that on this template here, I'm sorry about that. On this template, it shows all the pieces that you get in the box set, and they're colored here, just for reference. These are the only clean ones you have of this, but when you actually get them, they come in big pieces. They come in like a 2-page spread, and it's, obviously black and white, but it just shows all his line work. I mean, he did so many beautiful pieces. Like I said, I think there might be a total of 10 that are in this. One got really big in this, but I never painted colored them in. But just to see that this piece, the colored piece, could be scanned for reference, but to know Floro Deary did master's work, I love discovering this stuff. I love it. I mean, when anybody, discovers something and shares something different, it gets you excited because you do remember all the fantastic art, and you remember the usual people. You always remember, Earl Norm, William George, Rudy Obrero, Alcala. We know them and we love them. No doubt we love them. But then there's the other artists we talked about. You don't know the names, you know their art, you know their pieces, but then some pop out of the blue. And when I heard, like I said, it was only one of these pieces had his signature. So I contacted him. I was like, I got to find out. Is this really Floro Deary? Is this, because it said F. Deary. I think that's what it was. It was F. Deary. And he usually signs his pictures Floro Deary. So when I contacted him, and sure enough, he got back with me, he said some of his earlier pieces, he would just put F. So he said it was his. And I was even, talking with him. I was like, hey, I said, we'd love to see you do some more work. He said it's something he might think about. Of course, I doubt that would be anything, through Mattel directly. It'd be great if he could. But what I mean is, I'd love to see him just draw something new for Masters. I mean, he was there in the past. It'd be cool in the present. Just see him do something now again. Because what he did for these pieces was pretty epic.
You need to bug him a little bit more there, or was he just kind of like, yeah, whatever, kid, go away, you bother me.
No, I do. Like I said, I want to see him do more. When we talk about mini comics, like if they would bring them back, whether it's for, the classic figures, because we had those, the mock-up covers for the Ultimate figures that Axel drew, which are fantastic. But what if we could get an actual comic or mini comic with, like, let's say, the vintage 5.5-inch figures, and bring back some of the artists that still, are around and used to work on it. As we referenced and said so many times, what if they did give us a Geldor figure in vintage form, and Geldor's creator, Larry Houston, was to draw the cover and inside of all that mini comic of Geldor's return, bursting out of that tree of life that he was trapped in. I mean, why can't we have that? Why can't fans, like I said, let their voices be heard and say, Super 7, please get some of these artists from the past. They're still around. Let them do stuff again, just like we remembered.
I know that it feels like it's just why wouldn't you reach out to them? Why not do some fun little things for the fans, little pack-in stuff like that, and get some of these original artists to join Axel, in the ranks, to do a lot of these throwback things. And damn it, that's a story that needs to be told. The Geldor emerging from the Tree of Life,
Yes.
sliding through it with his axe, or like a massive lightning bolt blowing it in half, and he just comes crawling out of it. And getting to see him duke it out with his axe against He-Man's battle sword, or axe to axe, like a couple of Vikings.
Finally using it, just not on the cover in the old one, but finally engaging with an axe.
That's a story that needs to be told, and I think people, people just need to, Larry's heard it from us. We need people to send Larry messages saying, do it for fun, if anything. If one of these other people are not going to take the time to contact Larry and make this happen, then the fans need to get in contact with Larry and say, we want you to do this. We'll do it. We'll put together a fund, and we just want you to do this for the fans, and then present a copy, and then everybody can keep a copy of themselves and download it, or whatever. It just needs to be
but
told.
how great, like I said, how great would it be? Because Larry Houston worked on more of the vintage mini comics than any of the other artists. That's something sometimes people overlook. Larry did more than any of the other artists. He drew more of the mini comics. I think maybe Alcala came in second. I think he came in next to Larry.
Yeah.
But
Larry takes the number one spot for the most books drawn, because he was drawn from 84 all the way up to 87.
Yeah, so to see him return would be just as cool as having the vintage figures return, because you really then are getting a true 80s style, of nostalgia from looking at that figure and then finally popping open that mini comic. That was one of my most excited things beyond playing with that figure. I love seeing the new mini comic.
The mini comic was like it was just like that thing you knew that you got it, and you couldn't wait to tear the card open. And it was almost like, I don't know what to do first. Check out the figure or look at that mini comic first.
It was hard. You're right. It was just like a double dose of goodness. It's not even like saying, like icing on the cake. It's just, you want it both. It's just, you're so excited. You're like, oh, the figure I want to play. But wait a second, that's a mini comic. I might want to look, but I want to play. But, you found time to do both. But you just, you got, just involved in that mini comic. And you'd read it over and over and just then act out the stories. But I'd hope it could happen. So, like I said, letting our voices be heard. But any other of the '80s artists you can think of that maybe?
Yeah, there were two I was going to mention. You've already mentioned one of mine, but one was Luis Eduardo Barreda, who we mentioned. I believe it was the week before last, or episode 92, if we're going back. Is the guy who did the artwork for the Golden Book, Secret of the Dragon's Egg, and Meteor Monsters, Time Trouble. He drew such a
the interior art you're speaking of.
Yeah,
correct?
the interior. But
yes.
Yes. He did not do the cover. That was Earl Norman did that. But he did a lot of the interior artwork, and he has a very specific style of how he drew Skeletor. Sometimes if he drew He-Man like with kind of a ready for battle smile, like he does in the interior first page for Secret of the Dragon's Egg, it's just like, man, He-Man looks like such a badass with that smile on his face, like he's ready to just start slinging that power sword, start slicing up villains left and right. That was so striking to me as a kid, because when I was in elementary school and checked out these books, as I've said in previous episodes, the artwork in those books really I started paying attention a lot more, noticing, wait, He-Man looks very similar in this, just like he did in that one. And to follow that one up is Fred Carrillo.
Oh, yeah, the one who's done the interior art for many of these Golden Books that we're speaking of, correct?
I believe, Joe can definitely validate this one, but it looked like his art was on a lot of those other Golden Book puzzles, like the Skeletor's Dragon.
Oh, the ones that were more cartoony-like, if you're talking about, correct?
What?
The ones that were more like, just drawn, not painted, but just like a regular
they were a colored a drawn and colored battle scene of, like, Fisto and Stridor, Manny Faces, He-Man, Skeletor kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I know what the ones you're talking about. The one where He-Man was fighting a dragon or something, and Skeletor was there as well.
Right, it's got Buzz Off in it. It's got Battle Armor He-Man and Buzz Off in it, fighting Battle Armor Skeletor.
And then that one with Faker and He-Man and Merman. I think that one.
Cavern, that was epic, with mermaids coming out of the water, mermaids fighting He-Man. You got Skeletor blasting the stalactites, I think, with this Havoc staff. Whiplash is fighting Man-at-Arms.
It
All
did,
this going on in this battle scene.
yeah, because I think He-Man got Faker's boot or something.
Yeah, he's catching a kick from Faker in that one. I just, that was so cool. And the waterfall battle with Cobra Khan and He-Man on this log with this waterfall, and Fisto and Skeletor were on top of the waterfall fighting each other hand to hand. And you got He-Man and Skeletor fighting in front of Snake Mountain in another puzzle. You've got Merman, Buzz-Off, He-Man in the Wind Raider, and Skeletor and the Talon Fighter fighting over the ocean in another one.
Just too many. There's so many pieces, like I said.
Aside from this puzzle, he did some absolutely stunning interior artwork for the Rock Warriors, Magic Mirrors, the Sword of Skeletor, which Gino D'Achille did the cover for. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
you know what else?
He did that. Thief of Castle Grayskull as well.
He also did. I mean, like I said, I mean, he just hit up tons of those golden. I mean, like I said, from the Golden Book, you know,
he was like one of the Golden Boys of Golden Books.
He was. I mean, he was. Yeah, he was. No, I mean, yeah, he definitely was, because there's these two. Well, it's called the Giant Book of Evil Warriors, the Giant Book of Heroic Warriors. That's the one that he did the art for too. I think I'm most certainly did the cover for, and I think he did the pieces inside. I'll have to double check, but I'm sure he did. And also, what's cool about those giant books of Evil Warriors and Heroic Warriors, it was like the front piece was a poster piece, you might as well say. It was already colored. It was one giant piece of art, but on back of it was a black and white piece that not only had the character, it had an origin or a little history or bio for them. Like it talked about for Eva Lynn, it talked about how she, you know, could become Screech. And it, you know, I think it had a different beginning, or it showed at least Faker. We got to see a different looking Faker. This is one that I do not believe made it into the compendium book. I don't think it did. But that you see Faker sitting on a table with, I think, one of his arms off, and Skeletor is actually creating Faker that way. And the unique thing about this is Faker isn't wearing the orange Skeletor harness. He's wearing an orange He-Man harness, which I thought was kind of cool. It was like a different take on it. And then it has a little bio and stuff on the back. So, I mean, for people out there, if you want to look, you go to eBay, you look for the Giant Book of Evil Warriors, Giant Book of Heroic Warriors. You're going to find some very unique pieces of not only art but origins, and it's a great giant book. It's actually bigger than the vintage Titus and Megators. You know, those are some big boys, some big figures. Those books are bigger, so that should tell you right there how giant the book really is.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, well, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about the artists. That was the thing that, you know, we always want to talk about the many great artists. But now I'm going to pass it to Tyler for our last topic. And the topic will be a fun little thing. Go ahead, Tyler. What are we doing now?
We are doing one of our commentaries, and we're doing a personal favorite of mine, The Sleeper's Awaken from Season 1, which is it's an episode that I liked as a kid. And there was a lot of episodes I didn't like because Skeletor wasn't the villain, and this was an episode, it was only, as always, saw it on VHS, and the only episode on the VHS tape, which was disappointing because you always think you're going to get, you know, two for one tape, 2 episodes on one tape, but this was just the one episode. And it was an episode I genuinely liked, even though Skeletor was not the villain. There were no evil warriors in it. It was strictly 2 brand new villains introduced in this, but there was a lot of cool imagery. To me as a kid, freaky villains and beautiful women, winged horses. I mean, it was a lot of awesome stuff going on in this episode that I would go back, and if we went to a particular video store that carried it, I was going to rent The Sleeper's Awaken. And as I've gotten older, it had become better and better, even more so as a kid than because it's a different story. It's a story of jealousy and vanity, you know, in the story. You got, you know, these, well, we'll get into that, but if you're not as familiar with it, because it's not not your problem with power and all that other stuff, you know, it's, you know, the cliches in the He-Man community of episodes.
This is a very good episode. Like, yeah, tell fans how to do it, what we're going to do, so they could just join us with the episode, or at least they're going to hear us.
You know, you can always, I guess I guess you can't pause us if you're watching us live and come back to like to do with like DirecTV and all that stuff. But what we're gonna do is I'm playing the DVD volume 2 of season 1. That's what I'm using. It doesn't really matter, but we're going to start from the very beginning before the formation logo clicks. So I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1.
And they can find it on YouTube if they need to.
Yes. Let me. I forgot because I had this kind of pause at the moment. I got to bring it back up here. So forgive me, fans here. But as this is loading up, to let everyone know the first time you saw this episode.
Well, I know you always have your experience on the tapes. Mine was just on TV. I, of course, cannot remember the day, how old I was, but obviously I have memories of this episode. Memories of a scary character, as they're going to see. This particular person did freak me out. The whole entire interior of this castle, the creatures you're going to see within it. And you're right, it doesn't have Skeletor, it doesn't have any of the other evil warriors, but that doesn't make it any less of a great episode. It's a fantastic episode, and that's what's great about when you can get, enchanted and just sucked into these things is you don't even think about Skeletor because you're so concerned about this other threat that this is the guy that's freaking you out. And that's what I liked. You don't have to have Skeletor in every episode. You don't have to have Beastman, Merman, and the usuals. I liked when you'd see completely new characters because it really caught your attention. Like, I don't know who these two are.
Well, see, to me as a kid, that for the most part, there were so many She-Ra episodes that Hordak or any of the Horde was not in. I'm like, man, I don't care about it. Like Stone and the Sword as a kid, I thought it sucked as a kid.
For me, though, I mean,
amazing episode.
Yeah.
But that to me, and there were several episodes as a kid that didn't have Skeletor. I'm like, eh.
Well, for me, I got excited when I would see new things, and when this one, popped up, and I seen these characters, this was definitely an episode that you could always remember. It always freaked you out, and we'll just fire it up. You tell them when to hit play and how to do it.
So if you're watching YouTube, DVD, or iTunes, whatever it is, I'm gonna count down from 3, 2, 1, action. And there's a logo, yipping. But and what's cool about this episode too is that you can almost feel like where they're at, and they don't exactly say what location of Eternia, but it's almost as if like it's a very great distance away from like the Royal Palace, Grayskull, because we're talking about an ancient castle of these two people who used to, have quite a load of authority on Eternia, at least power wise, and they're in a castle that's it seems to be. Who knows how far away on Eternia, because they're, it's almost like Tila and Adam decided to venture out for a challenge of, wrangling wild horses. But as Adam soon to find out, they're winged horses. But it's pretty cool to think that, you have this couple, this, king and queen, or not king, Lord Tyrion and Lady Valtera running the show on Eternia 200 years ago, before what we come to see in this episode ever took place. So,
you know what I like though, and as fans are going to find out when they watch the episode, is you always had characters pronouncing names different. Like you said, Tyrion, and then Lady Valtera, always calls him Tyran. She really focused that, and for whatever reason, me hearing her say the name over and over, I wanted to believe that's the way.
She calls him Tyrion by. She says Tyrion. Tyran. I mean,
because she said, one time she did. She's like, she said Tyrion, but then she'd really focus on Tyran. It seemed like you heard that the most. But okay, as you've seen here, I mean, of course, Tila's going to give us a little tale about these two characters.
About our villains here, and it's a cool looking dragon castle, and I
like the images of these characters too. I was wondering who's that? Like some of them, I was like, is that supposed to be a hidden character? Like all those little statues and stuff. Did you ever get that when you were looking?
Everything. I mean, I like the portrait of the two of them in their caskets or their beds or coffins, whatever you want to call them, that they sleep in. We're like, wow, those are, and of course little Sago here, which I could never figure out, is this an evil little pet or is he friendly? It's almost feel like if they're evil, he's evil. If they're good, he's good almost. But it's.
Do you feel like there was probably maybe, obviously we didn't get more. I don't know if there was supposed to be anything to that. But when they showed little Sago, they showed him. You see, he's like a little dragon, and you see that their castle that is erected around looks like a giant version of him. It looks like a dragon. So you wondered, like, was there some previous thing before, some giant dragon they knew of, and they've watched over this little guy that became their pet? It was just strange. I always thought that there was a connection between him and the castle, especially the outer exterior, if you ever looked at it.
And I felt bad when she falls asleep and Sego's still alive and he looks, or not alive, he's still awake and he seems so scared and Tyrion's just like, go ahead and sleep. And it's George DeCinjo, I think it's DeCinjo, the voice of Hordak,
Just
doing
George.
the voice of
No.
Lord Tyrann. Man, he's a very commanding voice in this role as Lord Tyrann. You know, go on and sleep, and then the casket closes, and these winged horses I thought were very striking as a kid. They just looked cool. I mean, it's on the back of the VHS tape of Adam on one of them, and they just.
I remember thinking of Clash of the Titans. I was thinking of the Pegasus.
I think Clash of Titans around, not too long after I saw this episode, so it was a big connection of my fascination with the Pegasus.
Yeah, because I was like, there's those Pegasuses. It's Pegasuses. And I was always thinking of Clash of the Titans when I seen those things. So it's kind of, like you said, cool seeing these guys. But okay, now here we go. Now it's been 200 years. So it's time for Lady Valtira to awaken. And of course, as you've seen.
200 years, yeah. And the moon, apparently awakens both. Or Tyrion's been awake for a while because
But it was the sound, supposedly the sounds of those Pegasus horses that awoke her. Yeah. I guess because she always wanted one, or at least to touch one, but never could. Probably because of, her evil ways here.
She's an evil bitch.
Yeah, what's weird is I always looked at her there. I was like, man, she looks evil, but in that picture, they look so happy.
And those eyebrows, the way her eyebrows are drawn, they come up and go down at an angle to really enhance her malice. And
she looks really good.
So hot as a kid too. I just had such a. It's like so many women in the He-Man She-Ra cartoons. Like, boy, there's a lot of hot women in these cartoons.
Yeah, there goes Adam. He was choking that poor Pegasus horse. So now he's getting his. He's getting flown up there. Just gonna probably get dropped off.
I like this thing. It's like John Irwin selling the Fear in Adam's voice. During the sequence, it was kind of an exciting thing to watch as a kid. I mean, not that I was overjoyed and bouncing around, but it was just an exciting moment to watch in this episode. And
yeah, because when you're a kid, at times you don't know when you're like, what am I supposed to get out of it? Is this Adam acting scared, or is it he was actually scared? Because yes, we know he's
scared.
Yeah, because okay, we know he can become He-Man, then he ain't scared of nothing. But it's like you never knew how you were supposed to take it. Like, I don't know what he's supposed to be. And little Sego, he always looks so frightened anytime something like that's happening.
What she's doing is wrong,
Yeah, and he knows it, but
freaked me out as a kid. Like her arms up and her eyes. Like I just thought it was kind of.
He cries. He sheds a little tear.
Yeah. It just always felt bad for him as a kid. But then he looks evil at times, and you're just never quite sure, what is Sego's deal here? Are you good or evil? Because I want you to be good. I want a little Sego myself. But
and well, at least Adam survived that fall, going into that nice giant bush there. So he was.
This beautiful, striking woman in a lacy red dress and purple slippers comes out to greet him. Like, oh my.
Oh my!
Sego, look at the look he's giving Adam.
It's a strange look, but
look right here. Watch.
Yeah, that's an
Here it is. There it is. That little he gives an extra evil look. Like, what are you doing? Are you
Yeah, he did. He did have the extra evil look, and then as we're gonna see, she puts Adam under her spell. When she did this, I thought, okay, now she did something with his mind. That now he's her slave because she wants to have him as a slave. And there you see Lord Tyrann, however you want to say his name. He's he obviously gets jealous and upset. And I was like, well, she just said she wanted to make him a slave. She never said I want to take him as my mate.
That's why I said this episode is about vanity. I mean, clearly he's
just jealous. He wants it all to be him and her. That's it.
Even approaching this very muscular young man, you almost feel like probably when they were together years ago, she's probably not, addressing other men, and certainly not in front of him. But here he is out trying to rebuild the kingdom, and sees the first thing she's doing is she's getting the attention of a younger man.
Right.
Which sends him into this rage with his spider robot here to capture.
Yeah, that thing I always tried to wonder, what's God's name? I mean, is this supposed to be a robot? It's making robotic sounds, but I thought
I have to give James Eatock credit for that one too. He's not name checking the episode, but he is given a spider drone or something to that like
It
liking.
just
And
felt out of place. For some reason, it felt out of place because I felt
I
everything should have
always
been.
thought it looked cool. I mean,
No, it did, but I felt like everything else is so organic. It felt strange, but it was still creepy. But and again, as you seen just a couple seconds ago, Adam wasn't under like mind control to where he'd be a zombie. She just froze him in place and basically convinces, "Hey, you let me go, and I'll help you out." And he takes off, and of course, well, gonna
I love
become he.
this when he was going to save a damsel in distress, and
I like that too. I had another thing that drove me nuts as a kid, even though I love this episode, and it was Sago. I was like, okay, he's a dragon. Why is he never flying? Why is it like you're going to see a scene coming up eventually to where He-Man saves the day with him too, but I was like, but couldn't you just fly away? Or is he supposed
I
to be a
almost feel
baby?
because Sego. I mean, it looks to be like a baby dragon, and probably being a baby dragon, probably has not flexed his wings enough to do a whole lot because he never flies in this episode at all. Like you don't
Yeah,
not once do you ever see him fly.
yeah,
I'm not trying,
yeah, you
because
could
I never.
almost say that maybe at the end it
Yes,
looked
and I
like.
know what you're talking about right here, where he's flying, but I almost feel like out of fear and he's not thinking, he's just scared, which is probably why he's probably worried about falling.
Yeah, it did. It always got me for whatever reason. I mean, at the end, he does one little part where you could say, I don't know, he could jump, but it almost looked like he flew to Lady Valtira at the end, but that could be
He
taken
leaps
many.
to her, yeah, but
Yeah, so a leap slash fly. And there, the scene where Lord Turan, where they just showed him after sucking the tree's energy, he looked young there, slightly younger, and I didn't know if it was
I think
supposed to
it's
be.
an animation error because you'll see him again right here show
And
up in
then he
front
looks old. Oh, and there He-Man falls in the same
of
bush
me.
Adam did. So thank God for that bush because it's the savior of Adam and He-Man. Just thank God it's
Yeah,
there.
I
But you're
mean,
right. I guess it's an
I just love
animation.
how Sego's transition of like affection for He-Man, like he's like the excitement right there for saving him, and I mean He-Man is such an alpha male in this episode, and he's not even trying to be. He's just is, and we got to touch on Tyrion's like uh, visual look. I mean, look, I mean, this close up of his eyes decrepit, like his lip, and some of these scenes you can see it's like deteriorating away. Like you can see
It
his
felt
teeth.
zombie-like to me. That's why I
Yeah,
mean, when
very
I was a
zombie
kid
like.
seeing it,
Yeah,
it
it's
was scary. I remember as a kid when I looked at that guy, every time I seen him, he was frightening because he looked
yeah.
decrepit and dead-like. And yeah, you got no positive vibes or like if how some people want to say, oh, all these episodes are all corny and cheery and just
Because
childlike.
people they're too lazy to actually say, look, we didn't keep this property alive just for because we were bored. Because no, there's so many kick ass episodes in this in this series. A lot of great moments, great characters, great stories and dialogue, and I mean, we're watching one of the best. I mean, if someone said this was their favorite episode, dude, I would say I could see why because it is a fantastic episode, and the music, the certain types like that's playing right now as you're watching this, it's just great. I mean, that's what's great directing about these episodes is playing the right moments that are right music that Shuki Levy created, and it enhances the episodes. And right here, this close up of him, and he closes his arms together, and the lightning crashes, and I mean, this is just like watching a movie. This is kind of the
Yeah.
moment you see in a movie.
Yeah, and you see now right there, looking at the castle, even though it's destroyed, do you see what I meant, like with the similarities between that castle's structure
Oh,
look
I pointed it
and
out
yeah.
earlier.
Okay, no, I didn't know. I never heard you. I didn't know you acknowledged.
Dog. Joe is trying to sit there and tell me what I already said.
No, no, I remember I said that, but I didn't think you acknowledged when I mentioned it. I didn't think
Oh
you said.
yeah. Oh, I apologize for that. Yes, it is clearly. It's almost like maybe the dragon is like a family crest symbol or something like
Hey,
that. Like,
look, it's She-Ra flying up in the sky too. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Tila. No,
oh, Joe's got.
I got a million of them. They're not worth anything, but I got a million of them. But no, also you've seen that, yeah, Lady of Altera, she realized that hey, maybe it is better to have friends than slaves. She's starting to realize that maybe what they've been doing is wrong.
I always thought this moment was creepy with this music when Tila's walking around there by herself. All the spider was in the music. It really, and then of course she's walking around and sees the coffins. And then of course you see Lord Tyrann silhouetted, in one of the doorways.
How about in a damn perfect world, Super 7 released a 2-pack of them with their coffins? Oh my god.
I mean, these are characters too that everybody's more focused on some background character in the She-Ra mini comic, or
Yeah, give
Jim
these
Fallon
guys
because they think
figures.
it's funny. Dude, Lord Tyrion and Lady Valkyrie, they in Sego, they need figures. Damn it.
Yep, and multiple heads. You can display them as the
Yeah,
young, the
they have
old, the wicked.
Tyrion with his decrepit zombie head and his human
Oh,
head. Lady Valkyrie with a more friendlier face and a more evil look on her face.
you're right. I mean, it's a whole episode. It's all focusing on them. It's memorable. Like you said, we get background characters and nonsense into figures half the time, but then these two, it's all about them. It's a prominent, memorable role. If any two deserve figures, it is these two characters, like you said, in a little Sago. That would be just perfect.
Oh, and this scene freaked me out as a kid too. Was this snake dragon, so to speak, coming out and attacking, and it was which calmed me down when He-Man decides he gets tickled by the snake's grip. And I'm like, oh man, nothing bothers He-Man at all. And
Yeah, because you're right. Because you get scared when he gets gripped up by that thing. Eventually, you're thinking, "Oh God!" But then when he makes light of it, you're right. When he's laughing about it tickling him,
it makes you feel like okay, it's all right, because here we go. And the He-Man theme kicks in. He-Man, when the
and you don't
dragon
feel like there's a
back.
threat. You're right. When it gets him and he giggles and talks about feeling like it's tickling, you
Yeah,
feel like,
here it
okay,
is.
there's no threat.
Yeah, you just feel like, and the poor Sego is just scared out of his mind watching this because he hadn't seen anybody just beat the hell out of this, or any creature that size, and just great animation use in this episode. I mean, great dialogue. I mean, it's just there's a lot of great character interaction in this episode. Like,
Tied him
he
up there.
they're
Got him
trying to
all in.
steal Lady Valkyrie. He even pretty much shows no romantic interest in her. She clearly almost sounds like she likes having him around, but she's also talking about we got to find Tyrion. So it's not like she's being she's not cheating on him or anything. It has no desire to do so. This is all a man's jealousy over his appearance, which
Yep.
it's great. It's fantastic character development in this.
Yep, and a little foreshadowing here, as we'll see, because if she's to take down this giant big root that's in that spot, that's the only thing that's holding that structure together. So, you always get that vibe. You know that there's foreshadowing of, okay, I think probably something's going to happen. And then we get a very Lord have mercy moment with Tila right up there on that spiderweb. Ooh, Lordy. I was like, she was looking pretty nice stuck on that web. You
Of course, I favored Lady Valkyrie so much. I wanted He-Man to get with her in this story. I was like, leave Tila behind. As I take Lady Valkyrie and say go and go. But I love this face off here where he comes out and just shows that I've done all this. I'm now ugly, and now you prefer this other guy.
Yeah, when she finds out that him is just like the horror, like, oh my God,
Wait, I
yeah.
don't want people saying you can't tell because you're wearing the same clothes. You're missing the point. It's about the storytelling that this man is ugly. Is not the man that she has known, for the majority of her life. It's the way Filmation told, and I always because this moment here with the spider is on the VHS box of the shooting the spider web at He-Man right here. Hey, I thought
Yeah.
it was so cool. Like,
But
oh, she's
what's good? What I liked was that he explained the stuff because I really did remember being so confused as a kid when I seen him and he looked so old. And of course, she comes out and she's, young but evil looking. But I thought, Jesus, why does he look so decrepit? I figured he would have been kind of like young too. I thought that since they needed that time to rest, after 200 years, he'd look good. But then he explains that obviously what he was doing was keeping the castle beautiful or trying to keep it for her. So by using
he's using his power, which drains his youth.
yeah, so it's making him look so old. He's doing everything for her, but it's making him look old. I kept thinking every time you would suck the energy from a tree or life, he would look younger. So at least him explaining it helped because I remember just being a little lost on what was going on.
Well,
Like
you look at these, the trees grew while they were asleep, so he's doing all. It makes you kind of makes you wonder how long he's been awake on his own.
Because they never said that, did they? They never said how long he was awake, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, and there was the ugliest power sword drawing I thought in the show was when He-Man used it to cut Tila off of that web. It was a very horribly drawn power sword. I made reference to it a while ago, but it happens. I don't know if you caught that. It was a very weird.
I didn't catch that one. Most of the time I catch it because that bothered me so much as a kid if the power sword was drawn off model at all.
It was really bad. I mean,
This
Yeah,
drives me nuts too. I always felt so bad for Sego, and I love this the music, the He-Man to the rescue music.
me too,
Yeah,
but that poor little sucker, I mean, look at him. It's like, okay, I figured he was going to come out and, yeah, you're dead. I mean, had his body is crushed under a gigantic rock, but Sego, I give it to him. That little sucker must have one powerful body. He was just trapped, but, yeah, nothing could crush those wings of that back. Any other thing that would be, I think, just toast. I
and
mean,
this
really,
character moment for He-Man here. I one last rescue I want to make and cut to the
that,
dragon. I
that
love that makes He-Man such a kick-ass hero,
I
man.
remember liking that too. When I was a kid, I thought he's saving the bad thing. He's saving the bad thing because I didn't know what to call it. But when he did go in there, go get it, I thought it was one of the coolest parts in this entire episode was just him saving that
Still,
big. Yeah,
I absolutely love that moment. And gosh, look how big the castle is.
yes, and
I mean,
it
it's
just crumbles all down now. There went the whole castle that was trying to be beautified and everything. But maybe it's they finally seen the error of their ways, if you will, of what they've been doing. And so yeah, as you'll see in a couple minutes when you see them finally look back to normal, I like that part. I really like that part that they just gave up their evil ways, like almost kind of symbolically saying, you do evil things, it makes you look, evil on the
well, yeah.
outside and inside.
Even if you're like a handsome or beautiful woman, or excuse me, a handsome man or beautiful woman, you do evil stuff. You clearly, people look at you as completely different. Like your looks
Yeah.
mean nothing, and it's like with this, they clearly are doing evil things. They are going to look ugly.
Yeah,
It's
now doing good, it shows the beauty of good, if you will. Maybe there's some symbolism of that,
yeah,
possibly.
it's
And she looks gorgeous. She's a gorgeous, looking, woman for, the
yeah,
cartoon.
look even hotter, because she's turned a new leaf, and
Yeah. And there's that crazy little smile from Adam
yeah,
that he gave. It was a little different, a little different smile from him. And
I
now she finally gets to touch one of the Pegasus horses that she's always wanted to do. Or
it's
touch, you know what I mean.
yeah,
It
approach him.
sounds like.
It's such a great it's a great kind of closing this chapter on these characters that we'll never see again, unfortunately. But I guess it wouldn't mean much because they are officially good. Why would we want to see them turn bad again?
Yeah, and there was a slight looking fly jump from Sago, so
Yeah,
you could say he did a slight one, maybe, maybe.
but I mean, gosh, this is such a damn good episode. I love this episode with all my heart. It is such a fantastic episode.
Was this
It's
ever in the top 10 of the
oh
latest?
no.
Oh,
Let me
what a
tell you.
shame.
I mean, that was the shoddiest. You to this day have never seen that DVD, have you?
No,
All right, hang on a second. I'm gonna read off that list to you real quick.
go right ahead because I bought it, but I just bought it because, well, obviously I was buying everything Masters related, but I never popped in the DVD to see it and see what the choices were. Oh, and by the way, before you do that, just letting you know, this bumper used to, I mean, not bumper, the ending moral and everything about, like trying to get a good sleep and sleep at the same time.
Eating too
And
much before bedtime too, which is
exactly.
say that is not something to forget. Orko knows what he's talking about.
Right. But Orko floating, laying down, always drove me bonkers. I was like, okay, then why the hell do you have a bed? Why aren't you laying
Because a
on the
bed
bed?
feels good to lay in.
So he's laying in the air. It's like, then you don't need a bed. That used to kill me. So, well, that's that to the end. But tell me, what's on the top 10? What do they have for the top 10?
Okay. This, for people who don't know what I'm talking about, was the first DVD release of He-Man and the Master of the Universe. And this was voted by fans on He-Man.org years ago. And it just drove me nuts when I saw the official release for that. I was so pissed off. Not that there were some good ones on here. But for season 1, the top 5 episodes, there were 10 episodes total, 5 for each season. Evil Seed, Quest for He-Man, Prince Adam No More, Diamond Raiders, Prince Teela's Quest. Pretty much that whole disc is great, except for Quest for He-Man, which is Plundor. And I could not figure out why the hell did people vote for that episode. I was so angry about that instead of Dragon's Gift, Sleeper's Awaken, House of Shakoti Part 1 or 2, Return. Of course, no one's going to say Return of Orko's Uncle because I feel like I'm the only person who likes that episode.
Okay.
But it just felt like, no, why is Plundor featured in the top 10 episodes? Then season 2 is Into the Abyss, which I'm sorry is not a good episode. It's only good for that one moment where you see the power of Grayskull coming up through the abyss. Teela's Triumph, To Save Skeletor, great episode. Problem with Power, heavily overrated. Origin of the Sorceress. I'm sorry, I feel like that's an overrated. Maybe it's just me. I feel like the Origin of the Sorceress is an overrated episode. It does reference the Horde. Stridor, my favorite, steed, is featured in it, but the story itself, I just felt like was, maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
I just felt like this could have been a much better top 10 release of the He-Man series. I just felt like this was so poorly represented, I thought.
Well, again, I mean, all different tastes. Everybody's got something they like.
Yeah,
They've got something we hate.
Some people with that one, but I was so bothered. I was so desperate to have He-Man on DVD. I didn't care, but I was just so bothered that Dragon's Gift was not on here, or episodes like Disappearing Dragons, Betrayal of Stratos, Ice Age Cometh, Shadow of Skeletor, Sleepers Awaken, House Shakoti. I mean, so many great episodes. I just feel like, why did people vote for those? It was almost as if, like, the cliche ones, like people. I don't know. Do you agree with? I mean, how much of that list do you agree with that I read off?
Well, I definitely, to Save Skeletor, I definitely think that should be up there. I love that one. I loved Evil Seed because not only the character, but I love seeing the joining of all the powers of them on top of Castle Grayskull, good and evil together. So that was memorable. Problem with Power, I could understand the moment and the impact of what people are obviously thinking about. So I could see why they choose that. But I mean, no, there's some on there that maybe aren't the greatest choices. But there's probably, out of the 10, maybe four, I don't know, maybe 5, maybe half of that list I could agree with. The other half.
But to me, like, a good moment, I mean, doesn't justify making it a great episode. Like, Problem Power does have a great moment in it, but other than that, the rest of the episode sucks.
Well, I know, but I think it's just things that stick in your head. As a kid, you always remembered.
I just felt like there were so many other great episodes from season 2. Like, I was surprised, like, Cat and Spider was not voted in the top 10 as much as everybody praises, the appearance of Katrina in that episode.
Yeah, I just think it's moments. Sometimes moments can shock you so much as a kid.
But if
it's in your head somewhere.
Most of these episodes are like Tila's Quest. It's a great episode from beginning to end. Diamond Ray, Evil Seed, Prince Adam No More. They're all great episodes from beginning to end. To Save Skeletor is a great episode from beginning. There are moments you like, but overall they are remembered for being a great episode.
I can understand, but like I said, I think sometimes when people do remember things, like if there's something that's so memorable in their head, even if they might not remember everything that was going on, and you ask them, hey, what did you think? Oh man, I loved it. Oh, that was when, He-Man maybe gave up his power sword, and he had to get it back to become He-Man again, and he thought he killed somebody, and I never seen him say, how he turned back into Prince Adam. When things get just so ingrained in your head, I mean, it can happen. I mean, definitely, I remember when I was a kid, I was like, oh, Jesus. He-Man might have killed somebody. Then it was a trick. Then he gave up the power sword, and he said, let the power return. It's like, that's how he turns into Prince Adam. That's how he does it. And I remember it shocked the living crap out of me when I was a youngster.
Looks awesome. Look, I mean, Robert Land did a fantastic job with setting that up. I just felt like, and I like the inclusion of General Tataran in the episode and bringing the goblins back into it as a throwback to the arena. But it just felt like it was not an episode that, and you see like the moment where He-Man really kind of comes forth and it admits in a roundabout way his affection for Taylor. But I don't know. I just felt like there's some things missing from it that make it.
Well, I mean, like you said, I can understand if there's something that, like you said, it needed more. But almost every moment you said there, again, sometimes it just pops into people's heads. The different characters, the things.
A lot of the dialogue was not as great as it could have been. I don't know. That's a story for.
I enjoyed it though. I did. I enjoyed it. But that's our.
All right, maybe I'm being too hard on that. I'll admit this like openly. It's maybe I'm being. I mean, it's certainly not Star Child. It's not. Trying to think of another particularly bad. I mean, just like horrible episode. But
VHO. I don't know.
VHO, which in itself, I mean, it's more about like the Kraken, kills the episode because you're expecting this great Leviathan. And it's a sea monster with a chicken face. It's just like no, this does not work.
I know there's
stuff like that too. That it's like you can have a great movie, but if the ending does not wrap it up good, then it's like it kills the entire movie. Yeah, and if you do something like that in an episode, great premise, but you don't wrap it up, and like, oh gosh, you ruined it.
There you go. Well, Well, that was our episode, our commentary for Sleepers Awaken. So those are all our topics. But before we get off here, Tyler, is there anything you want to say to the fans? Any recommendations? Any projects? What's going on?
Yes. Project wise, the pre-order for the Leech mini comic is today's the last day. So when this airs, which is right now, I assume you probably have till maybe 10 o'clock or no, excuse me, 12 o'clock midnight possibly. Carson really didn't give a specific date, but he's only this is like the last day for pre-orders. Not to say you still can't get the mini comic, but he's trying to get a set order so he can start printing and getting them mailed out to everybody ASAP. So if you don't order today, you can still get the mini comic. It just won't come with the little profile card. And I think he's possibly going to include a little sketchbook of some drawings as well, I think.
Okay.
But you can still order it. But today's the last day for pre-orders for that. And a recommendation is check out the Golden Book puzzles. If you are if you only have maybe one or two of those, there's several others out there that you may not own that are available on eBay. Do a Google search for He-Man puzzles,
and you get them at a very good price. Sometimes very good prices.
Yeah, I mean sometimes you might pay like $20, but the box is in great shape. All the pieces are there, and for the most part, it's quite worth it paying that for a nice, beautiful puzzle with an awesome battle scene of He-Man and a couple of heroes fighting a couple of villains. So
I framed many of mine. I framed many of them.
A while back. Of course, I do not now because my place does not allow the room. But at one point, I did try to frame most of those puzzles, along with the Golden Books and the mini comics and the comic books and the posters from the magazine. So I framed a lot of stuff at one point. Can't do it now.
You can almost frame everything Masters related.
Pretty much. If you can essentially frame your carded figures with the Zola World protective cases. I mean, it's almost getting to where you pretty much can frame everything.
You can frame it all. So, all right. Well, thanks for that recommendation because definitely people need to get out there and get these puzzles. They're well worth it. So
absolutely.
Well, let me just say what I always say after I get choked up here. Go to fansofpower.com, go to popculturenetwork.com, go to hemanworld.com, and on Facebook, go to Masters of the Universe He-Man and She-Ra Ultimate Fan Group. All great places, all great people. So until next time, have a powerful day.
The only way out of here is that valley that leads to the east, but I wouldn't waste that on a broke dig dog.
Oh, I'm going to hate it. I don't know. Dang it, you're going to make me sound stupid. You stumped me. I'm back to being stumped, Joe. Oh, okay, there you go, Predator. Okay, I tried.
Say Billy, Sonny Landham, says that line in Predator. So.
Well, there goes Joe. I've just failed. And I feel bad out of all times to do it, too. So, all right, guys. Well, we will see you next week.
Everybody. Appreciate everybody listening to this. Take care.
Definitely.